The day began with a storm across the sky of Leuven, a world known for its shimmering green clouds and blazing silver sun. The court of the Leuven Empire gathered in the Grand Hall, a place where crystal pillars rose like frozen lightning. The floor shone like polished stone mixed with liquid gold. It was a seat of power where alien nobles made decisions that shaped entire star systems. Yet on this day, the court found itself waiting for someone none of them thought would dare appear before them. That someone was a human soldier named Rowland. He walked into the hall with steady steps. His boots echoed like distant thunder across the vast chamber. Behind him, escorted with honor rather than force, walked Princess Alera, only daughter of the Leuven king. Her violet eyes remained fixed ahead. Her long silver hair flowed behind her like a river of starlight. She stepped without fear, though the entire court stared as if they had witnessed an impossible event. Rowland stopped at the center of the hall. Alera stepped beside him. Together they faced the throne where King Varian sat. The king was known for his unshakable authority. He wore a crown shaped from a rare metal found only in the burning caves of his planet. His robes shimmered with royal insignias. His voice could command fleets. Yet now he leaned forward, gripping the armrest of his throne so tightly that the crystal began to crack. Rowland bowed his head, but only slightly. It was not a bow of submission. It was a bow of acknowledgement. The court gasped at the boldness of it, for no outsider had ever shown such confidence here. He stood tall, unshaken by the dozens of guards who surrounded the hall with their rifles trained upon him. The king glared at him. "Human, why have you brought my daughter here like this?" he demanded. Rowland answered without hesitation. "Because the truth belongs in the open, your majesty." Whispers washed across the court. No one spoke to the king in such a way. No one confronted him with facts he had not prepared for. Rowland held his ground. Alera did as well, her expression firm. The king raised a hand. The guards tightened their grips on their weapons, ready for any command that followed. Yet the king lowered his hand instead. He was curious. Despite his anger, he wanted to hear what Rowland would dare say. Rowland turned slightly toward Alera. "Princess, should I speak, or will you?" Alera faced the court with the calm of a queen rather than a daughter. Her voice rang out across the hall. "Father, the truth is simple. I chose to leave the palace with Rowland. I chose to seek answers beyond your reach. I discovered what you hid from the Empire." The king's jaw tightened. "You speak as if you understand the dangers outside these walls. You know nothing of what I have had to protect." Alera stepped forward. "No, father. I understand more than you ever allowed me to. And Rowland risked far more than anyone else to help me uncover the truth." Rowland felt the guards tense, but he did not move. He had crossed galaxies for this moment. He would not falter now. The king stood from his throne. "Human, explain yourself." Rowland drew himself upright. "I came to reveal what your advisors buried. The war you claim humans started was not begun by us. It was triggered by a rogue faction within your own empire. This struck the court like a blast wave. Gasps spread from wall to wall. Some nobles stepped back as if struck. The king's eyes widened for a fraction of a second before he masked his reaction. Rowland continued calmly. "I have recordings. I have witness accounts. I have the log taken from a Leuven outpost that launched the first attack under forged human signatures." The king's voice dropped lower, more dangerous. "What you speak of is treason." Alera stepped in front of Rowland. "No, what he speaks of is justice." The guards did not know whether to aim at Rowland or Alera now. Confusion rippled among them. None dared act without a direct order from the king. And for the first time in many years, the king hesitated. Alera lifted her chin. "Father, the court deserves to hear everything. And Rowland deserves protection. not execution. The king's gaze moved between them. He was a ruler caught between anger and recognition. He had known his daughter was strong-willed, but he never imagined she would bring a human into his hall and stand beside him as an equal. Rowland stepped forward and activated a small device on his wrist. A projection appeared in the air, showing the attack logs. The recordings displayed the ships launching, the falsified commands, and the fabricated signatures meant to implicate the human colonies. The court fell silent, watching the evidence unfold. No one could deny what they saw. The truth glowed before them, irrefutable. Alara looked at her father. "This is what you needed to see. The war that cost us thousands of lives did not begin as you believed." The king stared at the images. His expression shifted from anger to disbelief, then to something deeper and far heavier. He sank back into his throne. The weight of realization seemed to age him. Rowland deactivated the projection. "I did not come to disrespect your authority. I came to show that our worlds were pushed into conflict by those who feared peace." The king closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them again, they shone with complex emotion. "And you expect me to believe that you brought my daughter here purely for the sake of truth?" Rowland answered with steady resolve. "I brought her because she asked me to help her uncover it. She deserved to know what was hidden." Alara placed a hand over her heart. "He protected me. He treated me with honor. And when danger struck, he stood where others fled." The king's gaze fell upon Rowland. "You took the princess away from the palace without my permission. That alone is punishable." Alara spoke firmly. "He took me because I commanded him to. I needed someone who would not fear the truth. None inside the palace would dare defy your court. Rowland did not follow orders blindly. That is why I trusted him." The hall stirred with quiet murmurs. The nobles exchanged glances. Some admired the princess's courage. Others felt threatened by her open defiance. The king stepped down from his throne, his robes trailing across the shining floor. He approached Rowland and Alara slowly. Every guard in the hall shifted nervously, unsure whether violence or forgiveness would follow. When the king stopped before them, he looked at Rowland directly. "You, a human, stood against my empire's judgment. You entered this hall knowing death awaited you. You claimed my daughter's safety as your responsibility." Why Rowland did not blink. "Because she is my ally." Alara's eyes softened. The king noticed it. His expression became unreadable. "Allies," the king mused. "Or something more." Alara met her father's gaze without fear. "That is my decision, father." Rowland said nothing. He knew this was Alara's moment, not his. The king took a long breath. "Princess, you defied my orders. You left the palace. You aligned yourself with a human soldier. And yet you uncovered a truth my own council failed to reveal." Alara took a step closer. "I did what I believed was right." The king raised his hand. Silence. The entire court froze. He looked around at the nobles, at the guards, at the shining pillars surrounding them. "This empire stands on honor, on truth, on the courage to face what others fear. My daughter has shown all three." A wave of shock moved through the hall. The king turned to Rowland. "And you, human, have done what even my greatest commanders did not. You protected the heir of this empire with unwavering resolve. You brought evidence that could end a war across the stars. For that, even I cannot raise a hand against you." Rowland bowed his head respectfully. The king's voice grew heavier. "But the matter of taking my daughter remains." Alara stepped between them. "He did not take me. I went with him." The king studied them both. Then he turned away and walked back to his throne. "Very well. If the princess chose to leave under her own will, the fault does not lie with the human." The court gasped again. No one expected such acceptance. No one expected the king to loosen his grasp for even a moment. But he was not finished. He extended his hand toward the hall. The truth revealed today shall be investigated by the High Council. The war with the human colonies will pause until judgment is reached. But hear this. If the princess chooses to place trust in this human, he will not be harmed within these walls. The guards instantly lowered their weapons. Alera released a quiet breath of relief. Rallin nodded once. "Thank you, Your Majesty." The king looked at his daughter. "You have grown stronger than I imagined. I cannot deny the path you chose." Alera stepped forward. "I did what my heart demanded, Father." The king's expression flickered. He did not reply. Rallin placed a hand over his chest. "I stand ready to help reveal the full truth." The king gestured for them to rise from their respectful stances. "Then your battle has only begun, human." Rallin accepted the challenge. Alera stood beside him, fearless. The nobles watched in uncertainty, unsure how their world had changed in a single morning. But change had already begun. The truth had already spread. The court could no longer pretend the war was simple. They could no longer ignore the courage of a human who dared step into their most sacred hall. The king settled back onto his throne. "So be it. Let the Empire witness what courage looks like." Alera took Rallin's hand gently. Not in romance, but in unity. In strength. In the bond that had carried them through danger and discovery. Together they faced the hall. Together they faced the future. And for the first time in generations, the Luravan Empire stood on the edge of peace rather than war. Rallin had walked into the court alone. But now he stood not as a prisoner, not as an intruder, but as an ally. And the king, once powerless too,